All right. So what do you have in your cup?
Cocoa with Irish cream.
That's funny. I'm going straight Irish cream.
Oh, well, that works.
Yeah, you like my mug?
Yeah. Do you like mine?
That's Star Trek. Oh God. Good Lord. Mine's at least festive.
There's nothing festiver than
Get out of
60s
here.
sci-fi.
Oh, but here we go. Um, episode, where are we? 23.
Hmm.
Episode 23. We each got some of Grandma Joyce's Irish cream in there
Yep.
in our cups. You know, what better way to do an episode than drink through it?
That
So to
is
those of you
becoming
listening
the.
at home, as long as it's not during the workday or you're driving, have
Yeah,
a
I was
drink with
gonna say,
us.
I know a lot of people listen while they drive. That's maybe not a good thing to encourage.
I am definitely not condoning drinking and driving. Just saying. Welcome to Words Are Hard, a writing and editing podcast. I'm your host, Ramsey, the extrovert in charge of keeping the conversation flowing.
And I'm your other host, Rachel, editor, indie author, and English teacher.
Today's episode is sponsored by DD Photography. Our friend Dawn Dunbar. Check her socials out. Check out her website. Send her an email, dawndunbar40 at gmail.com, or go to her website, dawndunbarphotography.com.
.com. That's an important
I
part.
yeah, I always forget that website's got to have the .com on there because like, why do emails have a .com on there? It's weird. Anywho, Dawn can hook you up. She specializes in senior photo taking, portraits, that kind of stuff. I know I've been plugging it like crazy. She does excellent photography of cars. Hit her up, 50-mile radius from the north central Wisconsin area, Merrill specifically. But just get a hold of her, check her out. And yeah, Dawn, thank you again for sponsoring this episode. You are a true, true supporter of this podcast.
I gave a thumbs up, which was
Yeah, nobody
sorry.
could see
I'm sorry.
that.
Go. Just move on.
With that being said, let's get on to our main topic of today, which is going to be literary devices.
Are you skipping
So,
your fun fact?
oh, no, don't back that up. Let's move on to the fun fact of the day. That is Toni Morrison. I do not know who this person is, this woman. She's a writer, but what did she write?
Yeah, hugely famous writer.
Okay. Anything I would know?
No,
Okay.
but
So,
capital L literature.
Toni Morrison didn't start writing until her mid 30s.
Hmm?
Did you know that?
I knew it was later, but I didn't know the exact.
Okay. So she was employed as a professor at Harvard University, and then she joined a writing group just for fun and started working on a story about a little black girl who wished she had blue eyes.
Oh,
After the divorce, a short while later, she took the story back out and over the next few years evolved it into her first novel, The Bluest Eye, and that was published when she was 39 years old. So, never too late.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Fun fact for you, Harrison Ford didn't start acting until he was in his like 60s or late
That is
50s.
very, very not true.
Harrison Ford?
Yeah. Harrison Ford was
Yeah.
like 30 in Star Wars.
30. That's right. But he was a carpenter first.
Yes, he was, but very
Not
much not
60s.
60.
Ooh, my trivia is slipping. I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just move on the fact that I botched that. Here, edit that one out.
No, that's staying in.
With that being said, let's get on to our main topic of the day, which is literary devices, which I do not know what that is. So learn me on some literary devices.
Do you remember early on in the podcast, I was trying to think of the exact episode number, but I don't know what that was. When we did rhetorical devices,
Sure.
these are very similar.
Okay.
Many rhetorical devices overlap with literary devices.
Okay.
The difference is literary devices are used specifically in writing.
Okay.
So you can use some
It
of
doesn't.
these. I mean,
Okay.
rhetorical devices, some of them could be used in writing or they could be used in speeches or
Oh, okay. I
whatever.
see. All right. So what's your
So
first bullet point here?
these ones are more specific to writing. And
Hmm.
again, I tried to use ones that were not overly obvious, the ones that everybody talks about, like metaphors and similes and things. And I
Hmm.
know last time I said that, you said, oh, well, we should do an episode on that. Maybe eventually. But for now, I picked out five that
Okay.
I like and also that I think are more easy to include in stories
And that you use.
and that you use, but that may
No,
not.
no, you use.
Sure, yeah, I do too.
Oh, okay.
Um, but just ones that writers can use effectively and be like, oh, yeah, that's a thing. That's something I can do.
Okay. Okay.
Last time you tried pronouncing these, do you want to continue that time-honored tradition?
Time honored tradition that we did once.
Yeah.
Parallelism.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a tough one. Okay, parallelism.
Parallelism is a single term that encompasses like 40 different things.
Okay.
But basically, what it means is there are elements of the story that are parallel.
Okay.
So that could be plot lines, character arcs. Think of like in Finding Nemo, you have two parallel plot lines of Nemo being taken away and trying to escape, and his
Hmm.
dad trying to find him.
Okay.
So those plots are connected in the sense that you know they're going to come together at the end, but their objectives are different,
Okay.
right? They're individual objectives.
Real quick, do you remember what Finding Nemo was in German when we watched it all those times in German class?
No.
Findet Nemo.
Oh, okay.
Did you not have to watch Finding Nemo in German?
We were in the same class, so we must have.
Well, I mean, I remember specifically later in like three and
Oh,
four, you
like
would have been
after I
graduated.
graduated.
I didn't know if we watched. I've seen Findet Nemo in German
I know we
nine times.
watched there was a different Disney one that we watched
Hmm.
that I anyway.
Was it Lion King?
No, I know we watched Peterson und Findus quite a bit,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyways, sorry. Okay, so
and the
parallelism
character
that.
arcs for Finding Nemo
Yeah.
also run parallel. You have Nemo learning to be more independent,
Hmm.
Marlin learning to let things go and not have to
Uh,
be in control of everything.
yeah. Okay.
So again, individual character arcs that are similar to each other and complement each other, but they're not necessarily connected to each other.
Okay.
And then you also have parallelism that runs more along like a grammatical or syntactical point. That's not the word I wanted.
Being.
Tact. So, for example, Neil Armstrong, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Those
Hmm.
are parallel thoughts that aren't necessarily connected thematically. Know what I mean?
Sure.
It's a parallel, the
Okay. Yeah.
phrasing is
It's.
the phrasing is
Yeah.
parallel. It's similar.
Hmm.
A lot of times you'll have like repetition with this. We talked about this a little bit with rhetorical
Yes.
devices.
Yep.
So I'm not going to get too much into like the sentence level,
Hmm.
but parallelism is a lot of fun for showcasing similarities and differences with your characters. And it can
Okay.
also just be a lot of fun on a line level.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and try the next one.
Okay. This is ekphrasis.
I have found this is one of those words that I only ever see written.
Hmm.
I found two different pronunciations for this, either ekphrasis or ekphrasis.
Ekphrasis. That sounds more Greek
Yeah,
than
it is.
ekphrasis.
Either way, it's Greek.
Either way, or is it either way?
Hmm. Is a poem or story.
You're not just gonna. Okay, we're professionals.
It's a poem or a story inspired by another piece of art.
Oh, so like literally like a written work based off of a artwork?
Something else. Artwork
Oh,
or another written work
okay.
or yep. The example that everybody always uses is Ode to a Grecian Urn poem
Sure.
about a Greek urn,
Oh, okay.
but also like Greek society as a whole. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Wicked is big right now, the movie and the
I
play
mean, okay.
based off of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I thought it just was the Wizard of Oz. I
It is
didn't
not The
realize.
Wizard of Oz. It is a totally separate story.
Um, okay. Now I'm learning.
Do you know, because I want to give my favorite example of this. Hold on, your niece is disrobing and also taking off her pull-up in her crib. So I'll be right back.
Be quick. Oh, hey there.
Yeah, we'll see if that works. She requests two songs for lullabies,
Mm-hmm.
Baby Shark
Mm,
and the Spider-Man theme song.
good Lord.
Anyway, so there is one specific poem that this is the reason I picked this word because I love it so much. Are you familiar with Emily Dickinson's poem, Hope is a Thing with Feathers?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well, it's all about
The
hope.
look on your face, you were devoid of all hope. And then,
It's about hope. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, although
Mhm.
it's short. And it's comparing hope to a bird.
Okay.
The first stanza is hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Okay, so that's the tone of that poem.
Hmm.
The ekphrastic poem that is refers to and is inspired by Emily Dickinson's poem is called Hope is not a bird, Emily, it's a sewer rat.
I like that.
Right? It's fantastic. It's written by Caitlin Seida,
Hmm.
Seida. And I'm not going to read it to you because again, it's longer. But let me just give you the second stanza here. Hope is
Hmm.
an ugly thing with teeth and claws and patchy fur that's seen some stuff. I don't want to
You
swear
can
on air.
say it.
I don't want to.
Okay. Starts with an S, ends with a it.
Yep. So I just look up the poem. It's fantastic. Hope is not a bird, Emily. It's a sewer rat.
I like
So
that.
good.
Okay, so that's ekphrasis. Ekphra ek,
Yep.
ekph Greek.
Yep.
So okay, so it's inspired by another piece of work.
Yep.
So it's a clever way to use somebody else's work to drive up your own sales and say, "Hey, I'm having art too."
I mean, it could be more specifically because
No,
this is related
mm,
to allusions with an A when you make a reference to something
mhm.
else in literature, but this is like the whole thing is built on this reference as opposed to just one little mention of it.
Well,
And
okay, and it's paying homage to people
it's
and
paying homage to it, but it's also
homage.
so close. It's like if you knew poetry, this would be so much easier to explain.
But I don't,
That
and I guarantee you there's some listeners out here who don't either.
okay, but that poem by Emily Dickinson,
Hmm.
knowing her background, which we don't have time to get into, knowing the style of poetry that she writes and the other poems that she's written, when you reference that kind of poem and you
Hmm.
build your poem as an answer to that,
Hmm.
you get all of that meaning from the original poem added into your work.
Hmm.
You're having a conversation with another artist who
Hmm.
maybe, it has been long dead, has no idea that this conversation is continuing. But the
Right.
fact that people can continue to engage with your art
Hmm.
hundreds of years after your death is
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I guess my examples of that are in the music industry. There's a lot of that going on.
Hmm.
I can't remember the name of the song, but it was like some guy was singing and he was like, "Oh, I asked for your permission and you said no." Like, do you remember that song?
Need a
Oh
little more to
man.
go on.
Magic, Rude. The song Rude, Why You Gotta Be So Rude.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yep, that. There was a dad who wrote a response to that
Hmm.
and was basically saying like, you have no job, you live out of your car, and you're a piece of crap. Of course I'm gonna say no.
Hmm.
So, okay, I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. That's why I brought it up.
Okay. So ekphrasis, ekphrases, whatever. This next one I can pronounce. This
Good
one's
job.
pretty easy. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Foil characters. Yeah.
Foil characters are
Foil
characters who are
characters.
fundamentally opposite in some way.
Okay.
The first example that I came up with was Mr. Darcy and Mr. Wickham from Pride and Prejudice.
Sure.
And tell you what I've been watching lately.
Okay.
The mini series, not the movie. I do also like the movie for anyone out there who's like, Keira Knightley. I like them both.
I mean, Keira
So
Knightley is pretty great, but
Darcy,
okay.
the love interest in Pride and Prejudice.
Is Darcy a man or a woman? I don't I don't know.
I did introduce him as Mr. Darcy, so
Oh, you just said Darcy and Wickham.
I said Mr. Darcy and Mr. Wickham.
Play that back, listeners.
So the
Anywho.
very okay, I don't have time to get into the entire literary and plot analysis of Pride and Prejudice, but
Okay.
basically, you know that Darcy is Lizzie Bennet's love interest. You know that about the story.
No,
You
I
know nothing.
don't.
You don't even know the characters?
No.
Ramsey,
I
watch the
don't
movie. It's got Keira Knightley
know.
in it.
Well, maybe then.
So Elizabeth Bennet is the protagonist.
Okay.
Oh, there's way too much to
Yeah,
boil
give me
down
the
into
cliff
this.
notes here. Come on.
Okay.
So two characters are fundamentally opposite. So obviously Mr. Darcy and Mr. Wickham are polar opposites.
They
I'm
are.
guessing one is a primpy, prissy lord
No.
and the no? Okay.
So
I watched too many Hallmark movies.
here's what's clever about how Jane Austen does this.
Okay.
Darcy is the love interest. He is the one that she eventually ends up with.
Oh, spoilers. God.
Listeners, if you could see my face. Mr. Wickham
hmm
comes along at the beginning and is set up like he's going to be the love interest. Darcy is the
Okay.
antagonist to start with.
Okay.
It's a enemies to lovers kind of deal, sort of a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Darcy is quiet and arrogant. He's the pride in Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie is the prejudice. He is unpleasant. He does not like company. He's kind of rude. So he's set up when Lizzie first meets him as not a good guy.
Rachel, is this the blueprint to all Hallmark movies ever?
There's a lot of
Because I mean,
Hallmark movies that have been based on this. A
this
lot.
is exactly small town girl, is in the big city
Okay,
and she
no,
has to move
you
back and
don't understand,
well,
and
no,
I don't have time to get into it.
she meets the farmer boy and he's
No,
a prick at
no,
first
he's
and then
no, you no.
okay,
You're
just
taking you're taking like a cornerstone of English literature and you're boiling it down to
Hallmark.
misunderstood tropes, and we don't have time to get into it, but we will
Okay.
off air. We're coming back to this.
Oh no, we're not.
Wickham, on the other hand, is when she meets him, he's charming and he's fun and he's
hmm
witty and he's handsome, and Darcy's handsome too, but and he goes out of his way to like flatter her and all the people that she's with and her friends and her family and whatever. So like you have these two opposites. And then as the story progresses, you realize, oh, actually Darcy is kind and thoughtful and, all these
hmm
things. It's just not out in the open. He does it one on one. And Wickham has the appearance of being
hmm
wonderful and generous and funny and whatever. But secretly, he's actually,
A bit of a dick.
oh, way more than that.
Is
I'm
that is
trying
he
to
the
avoid
prejudice?
spoilers because is he what?
Is he the prejudice part? Like he's a racist asshole?
No, but he
Oh,
does
okay.
run away with her 13-year-old sister, 14-year-old sister.
Oh, that's
So,
bad.
yeah. Um,
So he's a pedo.
I mean, different times, but
Oh,
yep,
okay.
yep,
Oh, this is like Victorian.
Georgian. So,
Oh, okay.
yep.
Okay.
She starts it off where, yes, they're opposites, but they appear to actually be the opposite of their true self.
Sure. So it's a double opposite
It's a
opposite.
double opposite,
hmm
which is just a really fun way to set that up.
Okay, so let's foil characters. Um, you beat the horse on that one. You good? Can we move on?
If you
Okay.
had any kind of
Let's
background in
let's get on
literature,
to colloquialism.
that was a really good example.
Colloquialism, take it away.
I needed the straight Irish cream for that.
But
Colloquialisms are words or phrases that are used in a particular area or time period. And this is a really good way to show characterization, specifically through dialogue or through narration if you have a close point of view,
hmm
like soda versus pop
it's pop.
or
I'll die in that hill.
bubbler versus water fountain.
It's also bubbler. You throw coins into water fountains.
Yep. Last week I told you that I was reading Skyliners, Louis L'Amour.
Oh yeah.
I finished that and then I read Crossfire Trail and now I'm reading Lonely on the Mountain. And
Just
he,
hold on, hold the phone for a second.
yeah.
You are a full-time teacher.
Okay, these books are like
No,
a
no, no,
hundred
no, no,
pages
no, no.
long.
Stop, stop, stop. You are a full-time teacher. You are a writer. You are an editor. You are a podcaster. You are a mother, and that's in no particular order because obviously
This
motherhood is super, super big and important.
it's a very
You
short,
no, no,
quick book.
you have all of that you do every single day and week. How the
Yeah, so
loving
what's your
hell
excuse? Read some books, man.
have you finished 3 books in a
Okay, they're
week?
little. No. But remember during for Louis L'Amour's birthday, it's in March. It usually falls over spring break. And in before I became a mother, when I could do this, I would try sit down and read as many Louis L'Amour books as I could on his birthday. My record is three. But anyway, so Lonely on the
Jesus.
Mountain is a really, really good example of colloquialisms, his writing, specifically when he does first person writing with the Sackett books.
hmm
And I just want to read just a tiny little bit.
Tiny little blip,
Tiny little blip.
a little smack girl.
All right, so the main character, Tell, gets a letter and his brother offers to read it for him. And it says, when it came to schoolin,
hmm
not without the G, I'd come up empty, and whilst I was learning to read and write, I was mighty short on words. There was still a good many I'd never driven into the corral to slap the brand of memory on.
I like that.
I love that phrasing. And so I use that as an example to show that colloquialisms aren't just terms like soda
hmm
versus pop.
Oh no, God,
It's also
they're
the
whole
way you phrase
phrases.
things. Right.
Yeah, it's entire phrases.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to read that one. I had one marked from Skyliners too, but we can
Oh,
move on.
yeah. Okay, so use them effectively, and I'm gonna say if you are writing something with a Southern dialect or something in there, make sure you are using your colloquialisms correctly
Yes.
because that will make you look so amateur if you
Yeah.
start pulling out, the bless your heart. Is that a colloquialism?
Kind of. But I
Okay,
do
well,
want to
whatever.
touch on
You
that because
you
you
get
you want
my.
to be careful not to fall into stereotypes
Mhm.
with these because again, it's really great for dialogue, but if you only pull it out just to make your character seem, like there should be a
Mhm.
point to it.
Sure.
This falls a little bit into like the comparison of dialect versus vernacular. Dialect being like you can read that book and you can tell, oh, he's from Tennessee.
hmm
Vernacular would be kind of how he writes his other books that are in third person, where this is just a narrator telling a story.
hmm
It's the phrasing is very different.
hmm
So be careful how you use those,
Sure.
but it's a tool that you can use to show characterization. All right, the last one.
Anthemaria.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Antimaria. Antimaria. Yeah.
Antimaria. That's another
Again,
Greek
I
one,
found
isn't it?
multiple pronunciations of this,
Sure.
but yes, also Greek. This is also one of my favorites, but I use it more when I'm talking than when I'm writing.
hmm
It's using a word in a different way than its usual part of speech.
Okay.
So my example of this is something that my friend group and I used to say in college. I'm so adjective, I verb nouns.
Okay.
So taking things like instead of saying send me a friend request on Facebook, you would say
hmm
friend me. Friend is not a
hmm
verb, but you're using it
Ah.
as a verb.
Okay.
A literary example that I
I
have
mean,
of
you're
this.
just you're just on a roll here.
What?
Okay. No, no, go ahead. Keep going. Do your thing.
Shut up. A literary example of this is from J.A. Baker's The Peregrine, which
Okay.
is a really,
Took.
really good book. What?
Took.
Took? No.
Peregrine took.
Yeah, I no. We're on a time limit.
Ah.
You keep
Okay,
saying
yeah,
let's hurry it up and then you derail it and
conversation
this
is
is not your
flowing.
job.
I am the extrovert. J.A. Baker, Peregrine took.
Really good book about peregrine falcons and conservationism. That's the word I wanted.
Okay,
Conservationism, etc. He does this a lot where he uses nouns as verbs and as adjectives to describe movements of peregrine falcons. He went out
okay.
into the English
Into
countryside and
nature.
and he was just observing peregrine falcons
Hmm.
for like weeks and months at a time. One example that he used that has stuck in my brain since I read it was a sabering fall when he was describing how a peregrine
Is that the death
made a
punch?
kill. Yeah, where it flies
No.
up really, really high and then
Hmm.
falls essentially, and then uses its body like a bullet to kill the bird that it's trying to kill.
Yeah.
But he described the fall as sabering, like a
Okay.
saber.
I like that.
But instead of saber-like,
Hmm.
he takes the noun and he turns it into an adjective.
Hmm.
And it's you can picture it, right? You know
Hmm.
exactly what kind of movement he's describing,
Hmm.
and it can be really effective because of that.
I like that. Hey, fun fact for you quick. The stealth bomber, I think is it the B-52 stealth bomber?
Your fun
Not
fact
sure.
time is over.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it anyways. The big black one that looks like a kite, kind of
Sure.
while it's flying. The side profile is shaped exactly like a peregrine falcon in the death punch.
Oh, that's cool.
They studied the aerodynamics of a peregrine falcon and put it into the bomber.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. With that, are you wrapped up with
Yeah.
Anti-Maria?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other
I have so many more, but we don't have
literary
time to get to
devices?
them.
Okay. Round two. With that, because we have to wrap up our Zoom call here, let's move on to the word of the day, and that is eavesdrop.
Yeah. Dropping eaves.
Dropping eaves. I'm going to
Eavesdrop.
guess on this one. I mean, we all know what eavesdropping is.
Yeah.
Secretly listen on a conversation. I'm going to guess that the origin of this comes from somebody spying by hanging out in the eaves, in the rafters.
Close.
Okay. Or is it,
I mean,
is eave,
essentially.
is it a vine?
No, you're
Okay.
right, basically. It comes from the Old English word meaning a place around the house where raindrop, wait,
Try it again. Take a drink and try it again.
a place around a house where the rainwater drips off of the roof. So from
So
eave
the eve.
and drip.
Yeah.
So like literally it's saying someone who stands there where the
Oh, someone
rainwater
who
is dripping.
stands there.
Yep, to listen to something that's going on inside.
Okay. I like that.
I just think it's a really fun image.
To have someone pressed up against the wall on the
Yeah,
outside
like
trying.
in, instead of, hey, you're someone who listens in on a secret conversation, you are someone who stands outside in the eaves, under the eaves.
Yeah, while it's
I just,
raining.
yeah, that's a fun image for me.
I like that.
And also, of course, I think of Samwise. So,
Oh, sure. Sure, with him getting pulled up through the window.
yep, they've been
Yeah.
dropping no eaves.
You've been dropping OE, sir. All right. I had to get Tolkien in there. Couldn't make it. Couldn't do it. Couldn't make it one episode.
I have a drink, so I already
Oh,
have
okay.
that going for me.
If you enjoyed the show today, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Share with your friends or someone who needs to learn some grammar. You can also sign up for Rachel's editing newsletter at rosedeanediting.com. That's ROSEDENE editing.com to get your free 7 steps to line editing checklist.
I'm also offering a free first page edit through my Line Edits in Action series. You can sign up on my website at,
rosedeanediting.com, ROSEDENE editing.com.
you're getting super smooth with that.
All
And you'll
right,
be
thanks.
entered. I mean, it took 6 weeks, but good job.
Well, whatever.
You'll be entered into a weekly drawing for a free line edit of your opening page.
That's PAGE page. Join us next week as we talk with our first guest speaker, editor.
Surprise!
Oh, look at that surprise to me because I didn't read this far. Uh, the editor, author, Bethany Hensel. That's going to be entertaining
I'm
because,
really excited about this. We've been
oh
talking
boy,
about this literally for months.
you and Bethany have?
Yes. So we finally have a
Okay.
time that she's
Dear God,
available
we
on
have less
Tuesday
than one
night when
minute
we
left. We got to
record.
wrap this up.
I'm really excited
Remember,
about it.
words are hard.
We're here to help. You really? You couldn't let me finish my 10 seconds of I'm
I didn't
really
know how much.
excited?
I didn't know how much time we had left. It says less than 1 minute. And I just looked at it, so I panicked.